Hello again, YouTube! This is Dr. Kendo, and I'm here for Scribblenauts Unlimited, the object editor commentaries, and we gotta go fast today because look at this Sonic Kendo in honor of this remake creation episode. Before we get to that, of course, I just create stuff in the object editor here, which is a feature on the Wii U and PC versions of this game, and basically I just create whatever is most popular and most requested by you guys from the comments section, the most amount of different viewers, and it's based on movies, gaming, and TV show type characters and objects and whatnot. So we started off with Nathan Hernandez today as the source object. This is actually a very important source object to start out with because the way that this character moves in Scribblenauts Unlimited is actually he puts his arms kind of behind him as he runs, or basically to the side a little bit more than most characters. If you're familiar with Sonic's running animation, we are creating Sonic the Hedgehog today in a remake because I have done Sonic the Hedgehog in several different forms actually in this series in the past, and so with the recent news of some new Sonic games and stuff like that, and a lot of people asking, a lot of you in the comment section asking for Sonic the Hedgehog, here we're going to be creating it. So yes, based on Sonic's running animation, that's almost the entire reason that I went with Nathan Hernandez. You'll see it in a little bit. We're typing in a great white shark right now to actually get the top dorsal fin, which is going to serve as the spikes on the back. But notice before this stamp, of course, we've put down Kenpo for the arms. Yeah, it sounds like Kendo, I know. And that also has the glove attached to them, of course. And ivory right now is going to be for the tail of Sonic, back behind the body and everything. And for the body, we actually used a golden egg twice. So there is a blue golden egg there, and then the middle tone for his stomach there is also, that's a golden egg as well. And now we're putting down the letter I for the legs, and a chicken nugget is going to be for the red part of his shoes. There's going to be a lot of stamps for the shoes, so this is just kind of the beginning. Now, of course, you saw me turning on green grids and then turning them off and stuff. We'll talk about that a little bit more, I'm sure, throughout the episode. But basically, you can push a button while you're here in the object editor, and it will turn on some green grids that basically show where the arms are, the legs, the head, the body, all that stuff where you can put different stamps onto. All of these little pieces that we're putting onto our character are a stamp in this game. You do actually have a limit to how many stamps you can put on your character overall. So, unfortunately, while it is called Scribblenauts Unlimited, it does have a limit. But anyway, we're putting on a minus sign right now for the white stripe across the middle of the shoes. But there's a glow stick painted the bleach white, all the way white you can get. That's the glow stick being kind of down at the bottom of the shoes, the sole down there. And cesium, that was actually what we did for the socks and stuff like that. Hopefully you saw how to spell that because it looks kind of like casium, but it's cesium is how that's pronounced. And then a frame was for the buckle there on his shoes. So now that we've named the object, of course I called it Sonic Remake to distinguish between my other Sonic creations, but we're in the properties editor for this game, so I will now read some background information and fun facts, which is what I always do at this little part of the video. So here we go. Sonic the Hedgehog is my favorite video game character. Many will wonder why, and some of you will understand. But anyway, he's been the subject of recent news with both the 2D throwback Sonic Mania being announced, along with a codename of Project Sonic for a holiday 2017 Sonic game in 3D for Xbox One, PS4, PC, and interestingly enough, the trailer showed a little NX logo, meaning it'll be on Nintendo's next console. Both games have had only one trailer at the time of this recording, mid-August 2016, and the Project Sonic trailer was actually pretty short. But I also, on a somewhat different note, I'll be trying to finish up a project on my other collaboration YouTube channel called the Task Force 5. Please go check out TF5, but basically, the project was a Chalk Talk segment where we recorded our discussion between my wife, Mrs. Kendo, myself, and the 4 other members of Task Force 5 talking about Mario and Sonic, many aspects about both characters, so I do hope you enjoy that one day when it's done. But here we go for Sonic's head. We just put down of course, head as the source object, but an arm from the 22nd page of the 29-page library of shapes. This is not just for the snout or muzzle kind of area of Sonic, but we're also going to use an arm from the 4th page to be his nose, you know, the little black nose right there on the end of all of that. And so then there's also a Tooth Fairy wing shape that's in there on the 29-page library of shapes, and it's different if you type in Tooth Fairy wings. I can show you what that looks like right here, because if you type in Tooth Fairy wings, you can see that Tooth Fairy wing, when we typed it in, was very rounded, whereas this one from the 29-page library, it has like sharper points, and for Sonic's eyes right now, that's the whites of his eyes, it's gonna look kind of, I would say, a little bit more accurate to the real real Sonic. But yes, we've got a great white shark. That same top dorsal fin is going to be for the top spike, as well as some of the other spikes on his head. We'll get to that in a second. The tiger shark was what we also typed in now for the ears, and you just take the top fin from the tiger shark as well, and do it actually 4 times, because you're going to want the blue for the outer part of the ears, and then the Sonic peachy tan kind of color for the inner part of the ears. And so then we put on the rest of the great white shark fins, as you see right there, and then now I'm going to take an oval. You can either type it in, or you can just go to the geometry library of shapes and grab it from there, and put 2 down, of course. That's for the green of his eyes, and then a dot is going to be for the black, the pupil that's in his eye right there. So we'll put it on both of them, and if I have some stamp space, I'll also make a kind of shine or glisten in his eyes. So let's go with a cuttlefish, and I'm going to take the top tendril, or the top little tentacle there coming from the cuttlefish's mouth, the one that's closest to the cuttlefish's head. You know, that's the one that you want to grab. It's this little shape, and that's the white gleam there in Sonic's eyes. Now we can take that same 29-page library arm shape that we used for his muzzle or his snout, that tan part right there. It was on the 22nd page. We can do it twice, but then connect it, actually paint it all black, with one from the 20th page in the top right corner. There's an arm there that is basically just straight, and again, that was in the top right corner of the 29-page library on the 20th page, and so that's going to make his mouth kind of a smirky smile with attitude and all that. The cuttlefish, that same glimmer, glisten from the eyes, is also a shine on his nose there on the end, and if you want to, I'm going to remove it right now, but I did show you what it would look like to have that same connector arm that we used earlier, the very straight arm piece. You could even use the letter I. You could use a lot of things for this, but basically just kind of a dent in his brow right there, you know, if you want that between his eyes. Anyway, we created the head and the body separately because, as I said, you have a limited amount of stamp space in this game. So one way to get around that is to create the head separate from the body, as I just said. If you do this, you want to go into the properties editor for the head object and make sure on the equipment tab it can be worn on the face like glasses, and that's basically going to result in us giving the head to the Sonic character right now. And as you can see, it doesn't always line up exactly on your first go around. So then what you have to do is edit the torso piece, you know, your body object, i.e. right here, you can see on screen we've got the Sonic body. Turn those green grids on, grab the one for the head, and move it up or down or wherever you feel that you need to move it. Like right now, I'm feeling that Sonic, his head was kind of a little bit too close to his shoulders. It needs to be pushed up just a little bit, so we did that. And I did actually just want to show you another Sonic design in case you wanted to do this. It's just a very minuscule kind of change, but if you want to make his body a little bit less chest heavy and kind of more rounded about like this, then you can do an oval as actually his body or his torso piece instead of the golden egg. The golden egg sort of is a little, I guess when we put it on Sonic the way we did, it's a little top heavy, if that makes sense. It comes around a little bit more on the top. But here we go. It looks like we've got both of our Sonics, and the reason that there is 2 of them, of course, is not only to show off the separate body right there, but also the heads. They both have just minuscule differences. Really, they're not that different from each other. One of them has that brow dent that I was talking about, the line. But here's what's most important. Look at this running animation. It's so epic. Rolling around at the speed of sound. And I didn't actually give Sonic the highest run speed. I will go edit that off screen or whatever, but I wanted you guys to be able to actually see him, so that's why we did not give him the top running speed yet. I know that I'll get a comment about that saying, you know, Sonic is faster than that and all that stuff. So yes, off screen it's gonna be scripted to have the highest running speed in Scribblenauts. Again, this is just to illustrate to you so that you can see it clearly on screen and all of that. But we're not just gonna be recreating Sonic the Hedgehog as a more updated version, but also Shadow the Hedgehog. So here we go. We'll start off with a HAZMAT worker as the source object. This is mostly just to have kind of one main body tone. It does have a little line there underneath the chest, but that's okay. We'll cover that up mostly with other things. And now Kenpo, of course, for the arms. We did put the red and black kind of color pattern. So if you click that paintbrush down in the bottom middle of the screen, there is actually a set of pre-made color options. I call it the color pattern library or texture patterns. horns, and so you can find a red and black one in there. Letter eyes for the legs, once again. Of course, we removed all of the limbs and basically just left the HAZMAT worker with the torso only, but I typed in a pom-pom to be the hair on the chest right there for Shadow, and I think that looks pretty good. It's white, but not all the way white where it gets rid of those lines kind of in the middle. You can do that, though. If you don't want those kind of lines within it and the textures there within it, you can just kind of bleach white it all out. And so the great white shark fin for the back spike, as well as an ivory, which is going to be for the tail. So I think that looks good, and it's, again, pretty similar to our Sonic, but obviously they are similar characters, and there are going to be a few things that are going to limit us, again, with stamp space and all of that, but this is definitely a lot, I would say, better, in my opinion, compared to my old Shadow creation or my old Sonic creation. These remakes are epic, and some of you guys have asked for them, so a lot of you guys. Marshmallow is going to be this black part of the shoe, kind of at the very top, and then a sugar cube, and below that, we're going to take a 20-second arm from the 29-page library. It's a, again, 22nd page, I should say, and that's the yellow part right here that's going to kind of go around the whole shoe, around the ankle right there, and the sugar cube, that red piece, is a great shape to me. It just kind of fits that flap up there. But then, oddly enough, we're going to use a tube top, and so the tube top actually, in this context, is just going to be the main part of his shoe, his hoverblade shoes. And so then I'm going to type in twiddle, and the twiddle will actually, again, this is sort of just trying to think outside of the box and knowing what shapes are what in this game. Well, the twiddle will kind of act as one half of the bottom of his hover shoes, whereas this 19th page arm from the 29-page library is going to be for the heel, kind of there on the end. And so a cobra, we can take the very back piece of the cobra's tail, paint that a little bit blackish gray, and put that there on the end of the tube top shoe piece, and that will round out his hover shoes right there. And of course, we just kind of copied everything, moved it over to the other side for his other foot. That would be his left foot to our right. That same arm piece that I used for the yellow on the shoes is also going to be the rings around his wrists. And then I used an Allosaurus and take the back piece of that tail of the Allosaurus, and that's like a red stripe on his leg. We're going to hit stamp limits right there, so let's go on to the properties since we can't add any more. I like Shadow, and I don't judge the character based on any bad games with him, but it seems that Shadow the Hedgehog is a video game character that inspires a lot of terrible comments from people. He does have a mixed reception among critics, but I mean, look at this guy. This comes from Thighs, some user on Steam who commented on my Move or Die Shadow mod on the Steam Workshop with an unwarranted attack, really. Thighs. Let's actually, wait a minute, we'll check out, he's got a Twitch profile. 28 followers. Great, dude. Where is the thighs? I play Vidya in my spare time and sometimes stream it. Look out, AGDQ, for this cheeky speedrunning amateur. Please notice me, AGDQ-sama. Okay. Anyway, back to Shadow. Aside from all of this apparent hate for the character in many internet quarters, I did create Shadow in an old episode of this series, just like a few of the Sonic creations that I made, and that Shadow video was uploaded all the way back on March 29th of 2013, where I also, again, I think I should have explained, of course, that this game, while it is called Scribblenauts Unlimited, you do have a limit to how much stuff you can put on, so please remember that, because there may even be little tiny details that we don't have on our Shadow right now, even. But we are creating the head and the body separately, as I just did with Sonic, and so now we'll go in and just create a new object. Source object is a head, paint that black, and then we will go into the 29-page library, and on the 27th page, now you can grab this arm right here. It's almost straight. It has a slight bend in it or whatever, but it's going to be for the tan part on his muzzle right there, and that's looking good. And so then we'll get back to the 22nd page of the 29-page library, where there's that same Tooth Fairy wing shape, you know, with the curved in eyes or whatever. It's for the white of the eyes for Shadow. And then we're going to type in horn, and that's like an animal's horn, basically, is the one that you want, since there also is the bicycle horn option or the French horn. You don't want those, so just go with the animal horn, and that's going to be the spikes here for the side for Shadow. And then we're going to take an ivory, paint that red. That's going to be for the red streaks on these side spike hair parts right there. And then a great white shark, same as we did before with Sonic. That's going to be the fin on the top, and that creates the spiky hair on the top right here. And so then, of course, Tiger Shark, just like we did before for the ears, and that's looking pretty good. We're going to have the other ear that's off to basically our right, but Shadow's left ear. That's going to not have the tan in it, because it's basically going to be like he's viewed from mostly the side, 3/4 view, or whatever. Turned a little bit. And then we're going to do a fang on one side of this ear that's to our left, Shadow's right, and then another fang for the streak continuing up past the ear a little bit. And so that actually can get us, I think, a little bit more accuracy within the confines of Scribblenauts, doing the streak on that top kind of part of his forehead onto the hair going back and the spikes going back. And so then, of course, hopefully you notice ovals for the eyes, just like last time, the Sonic kind of stuff. We did that same glimmer, glisten in the eyes, the dot pupil, but a rat tail was for the mouth. And we are going to run out of stamp space after adding these two horns on the end here, basically to our right, to Shadow's left of the head right there, and the shininess on his nose. That's again a cuttlefish. And remember, in the scripting, of course, can be worn on the face like glasses. You want to do that for the properties. For Shadow's head, I will show you some other designs for Shadow's head that you could do. It kind of is mostly similar, but the main difference here with the Shadow to our left is that he doesn't have the spikes on the side. And that's because we didn't get to add red streaks on that first Shadow head that I showed you how to create. But here, this one that I'm kind of making front and center right here, without the spikes to the side, that horn and stuff, again, it's more of a side view, so it just kind of, I'm trying to give you multiple options for that. If you want your Shadow to look more sideways like this, then I suggest probably not having those spikes next to the white of the eyes right there, and just sort of leaving it like this Shadow that you see on screen. But, of course, the same principle applies with Shadow as it did with Sonic. You know, you give the head to your body object or whatever, and so you will have to edit the body, which is what we're doing right now. So just to reiterate that, you know, if you're editing the body, you just tap on the body or click it or whatever, and then do edit object, and then again, turn on those green grids and click or tap that top green grid, which is for the head, you know, where his head should go. And basically our Shadow here that you're seeing, you know, it's mostly looking good. It's just that the head was a little bit too low on the body, so I wanted to move it up a little bit higher. And so here, now that we've kind of redone it a little bit, it's still just slightly lower than I want it to be. So I can just edit the object once again and put that head up a little bit more and to the side some. Just make these kind of micro adjustments until you feel that the head is where you want it to be. Now, honestly, it might be too high. So again, that may happen, maybe it doesn't. But there's a comparison of different Shadow designs. You know, here's the one to our right is kind of the old one, and then there's the one we were just editing right here to my left, my character's left, I should say. And that's all good. So I hope that you guys enjoyed these crazy remakes. I actually really like them compared to the old ones that I did. You know, I think some people like my old designs and stuff, but I know that I've just found out so much new information about Scribblenauts, new stamps, new techniques, because again, those episodes were all the way back in like 2013 and some of them in 2012. So certainly time has passed and improvements can be made. But okay, I'll catch you guys on the next vid, and thanks for viewing.
Down the road of twists and turns, always anxious to see what's within. We can look ahead to the point of no return, to the rest of our lives, at the spectacle we give. I've been down the road of twists and turns, always